"Chief, it's Charlie." He jumped out of his truck and shut the door, hunching his shoulders against the brisk October air. "I'll be a little late for tonight's shift." He made his way across the street. 10 minutes, he guessed. "A lot can happen in 10 minutes, Freeman warned. "I know." Charlie had seen people die in less. "But this can't be avoided. Can someone stay on until I get there?" The previous shift would want nothing more than to get home to their families, but they were all Charlie had. Freeman didn't respond. "Chief, you there?" "You have a 10-minute grace period. That's it. Then I want you in my office." Charlie had worked with Freeman long enough to know that he wasn't off the hook. Freeman didn't tolerate tardiness, and he wasn't about to start now. But that was fine, expected. Charlie had an extra 10 minutes to get to work. 30 total. That would be enough. That had to be. "Thank you. Bye, Chief." Stepping over the curb, he ended the call and walked into the jail. He sidestepped a correctional officer escorting a woman in handcuffs to a back door. The woman was crying, and she wasn't the only one. A handful of others had congregated in the waiting room. Some were upset, while others sat silently, staring at nothing, waiting for something. Charlie approached the front desk. A correctional officer sat behind the computer, scrolling on his cell phone. Charlie cleared his throat, not about to waste his 30 minutes waiting. "I'm here to pick up my sister, Jenny McMahon. She was brought in from the protest." "She and 100 other people," the officer responded, still scrolling. "You can sit over there until she's out." "I don't have time for that." Even if he did, he wouldn't be dismissed that easily, not with Jenny just on the other side of the waiting room wall. "Listen." Charlie read the nameplate on the desk. "Officer Anderson?" The officer flicked his eyes in Charlie's direction, confirmation enough. Charlie leaned forward. "I appreciate the process, but I'm due for a shift at the firehouse in 30 minutes. They both worked for the city. Maybe they'd be able to see eye to eye, to come to an agreement and help each other out. "That doesn't seem like my problem." Anderson put his phone down and leaned back in his chair. He laced his thick-knuckled fingers over his stomach and tapped his thumbs together. "I could make it my problem, for a price." "Really?" Charlie waited for him to cut the act. Anderson didn't budge. Charlie sighed. He glanced over his shoulder. No one in the waiting room was paying them any mind. If this was really happening, and he had a feeling this was really happening, then now was his chance to pay up. He turned back to Anderson. "What do you want? $20? "Try 50, Anderson countered. No surprise. Charlie knew his type. His own dad was the same way, feigning authority and control, all to hide that he had none. If Charlie had to guess, any attempt at negotiation would only up the price. He grabbed his wallet and handed Anderson 2 20s and a 10. His preference for cash over credit solidified yet again. "Happy?" he asked. "Ecstatic." Anderson stuffed the money into his pocket, then ran his finger down a list of names. "Follow me," he said as he grabbed a set of keys and led Charlie through a door and down a hall lined with holding cells, 15 to 20 people packed in each. The space reeked of alcohol, sweat, and weed. They reached the last cell. "She's in there." Jenny stood in the cell's far corner, away from the others, sitting on the bench, and the drunks passed out against the walls. She was twisting the ends of her long raven black hair between her fingers, a telltale sign that her mind was somewhere else. Her pale skin, usually a stark contrast to her dark features, was flushed. She looked out of place, and she was. The Jenny he knew, at least, the sister who spent her time studying for law school and hanging out with a small group of friends. And yet there she was, all the same. "Jenny," he called through the bars. She looked up and spotted him. A flicker of relief passed through her gray eyes that were swollen as if she'd been crying. She started across the cell. "How do I get her out of here?" Charlie asked. "You don't. Not until we hear back from the prosecutor. And based on the size of the riot on Michigan and Randolph, she'll likely be charged with disturbing the peace." Anderson smirked.